Could you talk about some of the people that's on the witness list?
See, that goes right to the issue. We don't even know if they're going to actually testify, right? Just because you put someone on a witness list doesn't mean that the state of Nevada is going to call those people. It's just they're on the witness list.
Can I name some names and you tell me if they're on the list?
I think the list is public. I don't know if I have a
Uh,
copy of it here.
uh,
But
Let
if
me
you've
see
got
if
the
somebody could send it to me. Let me see. Let me
yeah,
check someone. Um,
because I mean you'll have the list is there publicly, so it's a public record thing. Whether or not they're going to call those people, meaning they're put them on the list. They're saying that we might call them, but whether or not they actually call them during their case in chief, that's I don't know. So as a result, what they're going to say is sort of still one of those things. It's like evidence to which I don't know yet, and I can't comment on what the evidence will show because I just don't know at this point. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, I need to see that list. I would love to see who's on there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I want to see if like the Mob James or James McDonald, the Neck Bones, the Trayvon Lanes. I'm sure Reggie Wright Jr. is going to be in there because he testified in the grand jury. If you testify in the grand jury, more than likely you'll be testifying, correct?
Well, you would think that the grand jury and the standard of proof in the grand jury is what's called slight marginal evidence, which is just probable cause. And what that means is that what they're going to show, what you do in the grand jury is you show that there was a crime that was committed and that potentially the defendant is the one who committed the crime. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. So as a result, it's just to say, yeah, he's a suspect in this case, and we have good cause as to why we believe he's the one who committed the crime. Now, those people who testified and those types of things typically are the sort of the foundational people, right? It's the main detective, it's the main witness. They testify in those things and they tell that
And the
grand jury.
main rats.
Well, I mean, look, and at the end of the day, it's a safe
That's a
harbor,
joke.
right? It's a safe harbor because in essence, they're not in public, right? They're not subject to cross-examination. They don't have to say anything about it at all. They're kept to a promise of secrecy. So that's great for whoever testifies because they feel like, okay, I don't have to go home and tell my friends and family I did this. But at some point, the chickens come back to roost. And the problem with that is that now you got to get up in a public forum in front of everybody and you got to get up there and say whatever it is you're going to say. And that's really when you start to see people decide if they're going to participate in the process or not.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. When y'all start calling the prosecution start calling the witnesses.
Yeah.
That's when your job is going to be fun.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So like the 5 days before, I'm not even concerned about the witness list now. It's 5 days before. Once it's locked in as who they potentially will call as witnesses, our job is to make sure we have all of the information for cross-examination for each of those witnesses. And we're putting together the ones that we have right now, the ones we think are going to testify. But that final list is the main list that we go through. Okay, now let's work on making sure we have the crosses for the other people involved. So
okay, I have the list since it's public.
look at you. Look at you.
Yeah, let's see. We got
you have the list, and the attorneys running here looking for the list, and you got
right.
Good for you.
We got. Let's see. Let me go through this list real quick while I got you here. Let's see. You got the custodian of records for the CCDC, custodian of records of the Las Vegas Metro PD Communications, custodian of records for Las Vegas Metro Police Department, custodian records of Las Vegas Metro Police Department records fusion. We got Corey Edwards. Oh, who else? We got Dr. Lisa MD Gavin. We got Anthony Gomez. We got Malcolm Greenidge. Malcolm Greenidge is Idi Amin. We got William Heidemer. I don't know who that is. We got Todd Holiday. We got Jamie Hanukkah. Who else we got? Let's see. We got Leonard Jefferson. I remember his name. I think that's the guy that took the picture. We got Robert Ladd, who's from Brennan and Ladd, Blondie partner, Robert Ladd, who is interesting because he gets on Vlad and says that Greg Caden dropped the ball and stopped investigating Reggie in this murder. That's a whole nother story. Devontae Lee, that's Dirt Dog, the Southside Crip. Yeah, Dirt Rock. Kevin Manning.
Sergeant Manning.
Sergeant Manning. Okay.
That's
James
right.
McDonald. That's Mark James. Cliff Mogg. I don't know who that is.
That's the main detective on the case.
Another detective. Okay. Travis Newcomb. Dean O'Kelly. Michael Payne. Kenneth Rios. I think Kenneth Rios is another cop. Alfred Chimerez, who's an investigator. Ingrid Stokes. I think that's one of the girls that was in the car. Sinclair Williams and Reginald Wright. So it says Reginald Wright. I don't know if that's senior or junior though.
Good point. I'm assuming that's junior, since junior testified at the grand jury, right?
Right. Well, I hope his dad will be a good American cop and come testify.
Well, let's see. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have no neck bone, we don't have no Trayvon, and we don't have no K-Dub, which is going to be hard for the defense, because if you don't have Trayvon Lane, you don't have K-Dub, you don't have the origin of the chain story, right? You don't have witnesses of chain. You don't have a witness to say, you don't have Suge Knight. I know his name ain't on there. So you don't have none of the people that could sit there and say why this started. And Reggie Wright Jr. was not there, so he can't give the origin to how this started. So how does, well, I know you can't, you're not defending yourself here or your client here, but just hypothetically speaking, if you don't subpoena Trayvon Lane to say what he said to Tupac, to send Tupac off to Orlando Anderson for this whole thing to start, what is the prosecution going to do? Use the book? They're going to throw the book at you? Literally, the Compton book?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? The idea behind all the statements that have been made, the reasons why this thing happened the way it happened, of course, they have to prove that. And they got to prove that those facts, they have to be facts. Now, there's a difference between facts and opinion, facts and statements made. What's a fact? A fact you got to be able to say is unchanged. Doesn't matter if you woke up one day and was in a bad mood, or if you put a fact down and pick it back up later, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later, 30 years later, it'd still be a fact. Something that is something you can't change, right? So it'd be like I don't know. It's like an actual thing, like that kind of thing. This book 30 years from now is still the same book.
Right.
The problem with this case, I think, on some levels, the time, right? You've got so much time in between the time of the shooting of Tupac to the time that we're talking right now. That's 30 years. It's going to be 30 years by the time we're in the middle of this trial. Like, it's amazing to think of how. I mean, you're talking about a complete, circle of 30 years to the day when this happens. And so there's a big problem here for the state. I don't have any duty at all to do anything. They have to come forward with all of that evidence to show that jury beyond a reasonable doubt, not just a probably happened, possibly happened. It's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt that Keefe had something to do with that. And it's got to be something that's beyond a reasonable doubt. No, I think so. Maybe. Yeah, he was associated with Southside Crips. Maybe that was it. Like, it's got to be facts. It's got to be facts. So, yeah, your question is like, how are they going to prove X, Y, and Z? That's a good question. Hopefully the jury will be in that same mindset. They will be thinking that same thing. How do they prove that? Is it just because the detective is going to get up there and say, well, it did happen, so as a result, just believe me? Like, no, it's, you know what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff that you just kind of go, ugh, like that's not a fact. And we're living in a day and age now that I think people hopefully are more reasonably suspicious of everything. Like they're more skeptical, right? Like they're not taking things for granted. And it's just because a police officer gets up on the stand and shows his badge and says, I've been a police officer detective for 40 years, doesn't mean that we have to believe a word of what you say. Show us the proof.
Right.
Show us the fact.
A perfect example would be the Diddy case. Like they try to tell us he was sex trafficking his girlfriends. And this is why he beat it, because it was crazy to even say that he was sex trafficking his girlfriends, you know.
Right.
And they tried to pull what they did to R. Kelly. Just Diddy was fortunate enough to have the money to have the right defense to show that, hey, they trying to railroad me, you know, allegedly. But in this case, I don't see Greg Caden's name on the witness list. Why wouldn't the prosecution call Greg Caden? This is why we here. He told you that he did it. You secretly recorded him. Like, and why wouldn't they bring Greg Caden on? Listen, I personally don't believe that Keefe D was in that car. I personally don't believe that Orlando Anderson is the shooter in this case, right? I do want the Shakur family, however, to get justice. I just don't believe that story, and they probably don't believe it either. I think there's some other players involved, and hopefully throughout this trial, a lot of discovery comes out, and, you know, we get to see that it's a bigger picture, you know. But I'm rooting for you. I think that the prosecution got they need more than the book. You know what I'm saying? They need more than the book, and I just can't really wait to see what kind of discovery they have. And looking at the witness list right now, they better go and get some more people to try to tell the story, because in all the people that's involved, even down to the detectives and investigators, y'all don't have no car, y'all don't have no DNA, y'all don't have no gun. And, you know, I was telling, I interviewed Michael Pandula, and I told him there's an R&B singer by the name of Brandy. I'm sure you're probably familiar with her. She went on Oprah, and she told a lie and said that she got married to this guy that she got pregnant with, right? Now, she went to Oprah, which is Oprah in her prime, the biggest platform, where her mother sit there and say that she married this guy. The father sat there and was like, yeah, I went to pull my shotgun. I went to get, he lied. The guy lied. Brandy lied, right? All on Oprah, right? So I say this is as a part of a defense, right? If this R&B singer could go on a major
national
platform
TV.
like this, national TV, with the biggest person in talk radio or talk show, right? And tell this lie to save her financial situation, right? Who is Keefe D to not get up there and lie to make money because he see Greg Caden making money off murder rap in this documentary, telling the story about him, and nobody's coming to arrest him, right? For this story that Greg Caden is putting out there, making all this money. BET's making all this. So I'm gonna tell a story too, right?
Yeah.
Why is it hard to believe that a person like Brandy could get on TV and tell a lie so for her financial gain, and then come back to Oprah and say, hey, Oprah, I lied. And Oprah's like, you lied? Yeah, I lied. You know, I felt like it was going to tarnish my image, you know, that I was having this baby out of wedlock. It was going to mess me up, this and that. So I'm saying, like, if you played that for the defense, for the jury, and showed them somebody as famous as Brandy on TV saying that she lied for financial gain, and then show her go back on Oprah and tell her the truth, and she's sitting there with her mother, father, and the boyfriend, and they all tell Oprah this lie together. You tell me a jury's not going to believe that Keefe D could be lying when somebody just as famous as Brandy could go up there and tell that lie?
I think the danger to your analysis is that marrying someone or allegedly marrying someone versus killing someone or being involved in the murder of someone are two different things. I think our public and our people as a whole would look at one and go, "Nah, who cares?" And the other one like, "Ugh, like that's not good." Like,
But my
why would
point
someone say something about that? Yeah.
and my argument to that would be, which one is more realistic? That somebody will go out here and run around talk about they killed somebody, or somebody will go around there and lie and say they got married because they got married out of wedlock. I mean, they had a
Yep.
baby out of wedlock. Uh, it's more likely for any guy in the streets to know that ain't no street guy running around the world talking about, yo, I killed somebody. I killed somebody, especially the most famous rapper in the world at the time.
You're absolutely right, and I think that's the problem that starts. You start getting into your common sense. The idea is like, okay, let's be reasonable people here. Let's not think crazy. Let's just think as normal human beings, normal Americans. And you start putting that together. You start thinking in your mind like, how does this make sense? How is this common sense? That's right, and that's the problem I think on some level when the Clark County District Attorney's Office decides, hey, we're going to charge this case. How? Like, I mean, even with after the grand jury stuff, like, how do you sit there and go, that's it, that's all you
And,
got, the book,
and,
and
then,
then
and here's the most foolish thing that they saying as a defense. He said, "Oh, this is real. This is real." Like, hello, in hip hop, the word "real" means you can say if something's real and ain't real. Like J Lo, she got a song to "I'm real." She ain't real. Like she wasn't in the streets banging and shooting and selling drugs. Like she's not real, but it's a slang to say that I'm real. So just because you holding a book and you're saying, "Oh, this is real," get it from the real dude. Like I'm real doesn't mean technically I'm under oath saying this is the truth. Real can also be a slang in our culture,
and
right?
I think that's where the danger comes into play. I think if people just say, well, he said it, so it must be true. Like, I mean, why else would he say it except it was true? And the problem is when we talk about it in those terms, the only time that that really should be true is when it's under oath, right? You know, the person's under oath, he raises his hand, he says, I promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And then he just starts doing the book, right? And he says, the whole book is under that oath. Who does that? No one does that. Any interview where I'm sitting here with you, for instance, having this conversation, we just believe this to be true. But is it really true? Well, I didn't raise my hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. And that we know this, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't rise to the level of beyond a reasonable doubt. You need to have a fact. And we take people who testify under oath to be the truth, right? Unless it's proved otherwise. And so, oh, come on. Like, to me, that's the part that you just go look at and you go, oh, dude, seriously, why?
And I feel sorry for the prosecution if they using the book as it being real, because in the book he said that he met with Suge and Tupac in front of the MGM Grand on Friday. We all know they didn't drive out of there till Saturday. So how could he have, man, Suge got out the car and said, "What's up, big dog?" You know what I'm saying? And on Friday, and all the girls was like, "Oh, they was jocking Keefe D and everything." You know, and he said this all took place on Friday. I seen them the night before in front of the MGM. That's a lie. None of them was there. So why would you use the book as it's real when it's I could tell you 5 lies in the book. He said Big Meech in him was with him from BMF. You never hear Big Meech somebody he was running around with Keefe D in him?
Yep. Well,
You
you know,
know?
here's the thing. You got 5. I got 10 times the amount. I may even have more lies besides the 5. And I
Okay.
think ultimately at the end of the day, here's the thing. What you're quoting is what was in the grand jury, right? That they had talked about that sort of thing. And I think in the grand jury, if you read the transcript that's been published now and it's online, the issue of verifying whether or not Keefe had actually met with Suge and Tupac on the Friday before the Saturday night fight They said they verified it to not be true. Fine. I want to see it. I want to see the facts. I want to see the evidence showing that they actually did that. How did they do that? How did they verify that that wasn't true and not look at all the other things that's in the book? Those are the questions that I think, as long as the judge allows that in, we're going to see. We're going to see how good of an investigation they had for them to be able to use the book and say that that's somehow the gospel truth.
Right. So, judging from the witness list, is there anybody you looking forward to on the cross if they show up?
The way I expect to do this trial is going to be textbook. Meaning, I would like this trial to be the kind of trial that after it's done, people will point to it as the textbook way of cross-examination, the textbook way of doing an opening statement, the textbook way of doing all these things. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, people just need to know that we are phenomenal attorneys and we know what we're doing. And to me, who do I want to be up on the stand? I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. If we just run through the middle of all of them, and we're left at the end of the day with the main detective, who's going to be the last person. Typically, they'll put the main detective on as the back cleanup, right, to fix whatever problems happen in the trial leading up to that point. That would be Detective Mogg. Now, Mr. Mogg, he's no longer a detective. To me, that's the guy. Okay. That's the guy that I want that I will dance the dance with. Right. Because in my opinion, he's the guy that is responsible for the entire investigation. He takes over the file in 2017. He presents this case to the grand jury in 2023. He is still working on this case now up until this point. And as a result, that's the guy that I will be looking forward on cross-examining.
Nice. Okay. Well, is there anybody you would like to call to the defense, or could you not say as a witness? I mean, because if you interview, if you call Suge Knight, and even though he's not a credible person, if you sat him down on the stand, and you never know what you're gonna get with Suge, because you might catch him on a good day, he might give you something really good. But either way, if you put him in on the stand and you play his interviews, whether he cooperate with you or not, his interviews are going to show you that, one, he said free Keefe D. Two, he said Orlando wasn't the shooter. Three, he says that Perez and them were trying to kill him allegedly. You have so much great material from his interviews, from News Nation, The Art of Dialogue, TMZ, stuff that he said, even if he sat on the stand and didn't cooperate, and you just played the jury some of the statements that he made, Keefe D walks. Because he's the only living witness, and he says Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter, and that's who the prosecution is fingering as the guy, and Keefe D gave the order. But if he's sitting there saying free Keefe D and Orlando wasn't the shooter, and the jury hears him say that, this case is done.
The problem with that analysis is two things. First of all, as a defense attorney, I don't have the same sort of legal power, the subpoena, the power of the badge to compel people to show up. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you show up and you're a detective or a cop and you say you need to show up to court, that's one thing. When you don't have that, it's sort of like, please show up to court. Even though you do have a subpoena, it's not the same sort of impact. The second part of the issue is it's not my burden. Keefe's position here is very clear. They can't prove shit. I mean, I don't know if I can say that out loud, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, they yes, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, because to me, that's the key. They don't have the evidence beyond reasonable doubt. What a jury want to know, where the heck is the one eyewitness that could say, that's not my position to take, that's theirs. And if they can't bring them with the power of that badge, what does it tell you? You know what I'm saying? Like, the absence alone speaks volumes to me that I don't need to have Suge come up and testify to that on this case. Now, he does have the freedom to come in and testify. He's in custody. There's no indication that he would testify in this case. He's not hasn't been available for us. But I mean, look, at the end of it, I just want to make sure that people need to understand I don't have to prove anything. And to me, the danger with all this, when we start talking about the case, it's what's called burden shifting, meaning, they put up their case and you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know if they proved beyond reasonable doubt. And then we put up a case and like, well, they also didn't do it either. And then it sort of shifts the burden away from like, no, those guys didn't prove beyond reasonable doubt. Done. No further conversation. So if a witness doesn't show up to testify, that's not on us. That's on them. They have all the resources in the world. They have, sister agencies in California that can go over and do X, Y, and Z. Do I have a sister agency in California that can go out and do X, Y, and Z? No, I do not. So it's on them to do their jobs. And if they haven't produced people that we all know should be here to testify, that's not on Keefe. That's on the state of Nevada. They should have had their ducks in a row when they first charged this case. That's
right. I'm very, very puzzled as to why. And I know some guys don't cooperate with law enforcement and things like that, but looking at that witness list, they better go get Greg Cater and let him set some people up to get them in the court.
I mean, look,
let him write a fake Poochie letter and get some people in the court.
I would like to see that. I would love to see a fake Poochie letter. So
Greg Cater get you to court. I think he'll put some PCP on you in a minute.
That's right. A gallon of it. Gallons of it.
Use your homeboys to set you up, boy. and tell you this is what you got to say to get out of here. I'll give you a profit with no paperwork.
Yeah. And to me, once again, it's the evidence that will be shown to those 12 people in there. The expectation is we're going to pick 12 people who are going to be fair and impartial to both the state of Nevada as well as to Keefe, right? And they're going to promise that. And we're going to vet them. We're going to try our best to figure out, okay, are they leaning hard to the state? Are they leaning hard to the defense? And people get struck, and then you get your 12. The promise, though, is that during the course of the trial, they don't go anywhere else. They don't look outside the four corners of the courtroom. Everything that's said in that courtroom is the evidence that they will consider at the end of the trial, and nothing outside. When they walk outside, get in their cars and go home, and that they will promise to stay away from the internet and all this other stuff. That's what we're hoping for, is those 12 people. So a lot of the stuff that and other people know that have been investigating this case for 30 years, some of this stuff will never be said in court.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that, there's going to be concern about that. Well, at the end of the day, that's what the trial system is about. The rules of evidence govern, and the judge will make a determination as to what comes into play according to the rules of evidence. That's it. Some of this stuff might not be relevant. Some other stuff, we can't have the foundation. We don't have the foundation to introduce it into evidence. Right. And some people won't even respond to a subpoena from us. Right? Like, we won't be able to get certain people to come in because they're like, you're in Nevada, I'm in California, screw yourself. And so to me, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there, but once again, not my problem. My position here is they have to prove it beyond reasonable doubt. I have no other thing to do but here's the one thing I have a duty to do as a defense attorney. The state brings in a piece of evidence and say, look, here's a piece of evidence, jury. I want you to consider it and make it fact. It's not fact until it goes through the refiner's fire. Once I get the opportunity to cross-examination, is there things in that piece of evidence that's not good, that is faulty, that doesn't rise to the level of, facts that they should consider, then only then does the jury consider that piece of information, is after they've gone through the refiner's fire of cross-examination by me. So once they get all that stuff, that's one thing. They can make their determination. But up until that point, whatever facts that come in that it's allowed by the court, like I said, it's like some of this might be anticlimactic. People be like, what the heck? We didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about that. We don't. And it's because the state of Nevada has the burden to prove all of that. Right. So, that's where we're at.